Yes, you are probably just as dumbfounded by the title of this video as I was when I found out that someone out there did a study and determined that Tesla Autopilot is distant second to, well, any technology, but especially to GM's Super Cruise. That someone is Consumer Reports, and this someone is going to tell you why they are embarrassingly wrong, and then InsideEVs contributor Tom Moloughney will chime in to help me lower my blood pressure and with some news of his own. Speaking of Tesla Autopilot, the full self-driving package just went up in price. Panasonic, surprising announcement that they will be making the new 4680 Tesla batteries. Meanwhile, Tesla is set to increase the number of service centers. Will it be enough? Also, I will let you know how much it will cost you to add a radio back into your Tesla. Hold on to your wallets. Fisker goes public and reveals its latest reservation count. Lordstown Motors, also now public, plays the tug of war with Ford F-150. Polestar 2 is having a rough start, and other electric car news coming up next. Welcome to E4Electric, your #1 source of electric car scoop. I hope you had a great Halloween weekend. Let me know in the comment section which costume you went with. As far as me, well, since I am Russian, I decided to do something different. Hello, my name is Sergey. I am the election official. You vote for Biden. Okay, I take your ballot, put like right here in a ballot, official ballot box right here. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. All right. You voted. But before Sergey, I did spend my Halloween with a real ghost, a vehicle that, per a lot of your comments, doesn't really exist. I will be filing that report next Thursday, so if you haven't subscribed to this channel, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward, including my Hummer EV first look review. All right, back to our top story. And do you know what it takes for this guy to defend Tesla Autopilot, the feature who he believes is the worst feature for the entire brand? Well, apparently a study by Consumer Reports. They have recently did a study where they have compared a bunch of different cars with driver assist features and determined that Tesla Autopilot is, I quote, distant second to GM's Super Cruise. Now, I myself have experienced both, and I don't even think there is competition. I've read the full report that Consumer Reports have published on their website, and I gotta say, there are so many holes in this report that I can probably drive the ghost of Hummer EV through all of them. Let me read you one of many quotes, after which I had to take my blood pressure medication because it is just so absurd. When it comes to lane keeping assist, Tesla did the best in our tests, but systems from Audi, Cadillac, and Lincoln perform almost as well. Almost what now? No, just no. When I was test driving the Super Cruise, it was actually in Detroit when I was driving from downtown using a freeway to one of the GM's factories with the GM's wrap in the back seat, and most of the way it wasn't even available. And I guess the Super Cruise doesn't make as many errors as the Tesla Autopilot when it refuses to come on, but it's like saying that, you know, this car is the safest car in the world as long as you drive it in the desert at 3 o'clock in the morning with a police escort. There were in few categories by which Consumer Reports was scoring this technology, but categories like capabilities and performance were giving the same weight as, for example, clear when safe to use, which somehow Consumer Reports suggested that the technology that didn't really know what was happening would give more warnings to the driver, saying, well, I don't know if I can handle this, while Tesla Autopilot didn't give as many of those because it knew what it was doing most of the time. Another category that was given way too much weight to was the unresponsive driver, and also Consumer Reports didn't really tell us how they were judging, because essentially you can fool any of these technologies in terms of whether or not the driver is paying attention. Somehow Tesla did not score very well in that category, even though every Tesla driver knows that after just a few seconds of not paying attention, it starts to nag you. As a matter of fact, you could be paying attention and it would still nag you. Now, if something really does happen and you become unresponsive, the car will continue using the autopilot features and will slow down to a stop and put the blinkers on, And, what else do you want from it? And on top of that, Consumer Reports did not tell us how they came up with the total score, because they had 6 categories where they were rating this technology on a scale of 1 to 10. So you would assume that 60 would be the highest one can score. But at the end of the day, as you can see, the final scores did not have much to do with it at all. So before I lose my cool, why don't we bring in someone who's always very calm? He is the InsideEVs contributor, Tom Moloughney. But before that, a quick reminder that this video and this channel is sponsored by KANDI America. Have you met the most affordable electric car in the United States? Check out the K27 for under $10,000 after the federal tax credit, or their second model K23 for under 20. Delivery starts soon, so make sure to reserve yours using the link in the description of this video. And by XPeng Motors, China's leading smart EV automaker that has just launched the world's first all-voice in-car system at its annual Tech Day. For more, follow XPeng Motors on Facebook using the link in the description of this video. All right, Tom, I am the last one to usually defend the Tesla Autopilot. I'm not the biggest fan, and I also know you in your Model 3 have chosen not to have that option. But here, I just don't see how Consumer Reports can put anybody else even close to the Autopilot, yet the Super Cruise, which I have tried as well, somehow is beating it out. What am I missing here?
So, I do have autopilot. I just didn't pay for the full self-driving. So, yeah. I do like my autopilot. I use it quite frequently, but I am definitely a conscientious driver and I pay attention. I keep my hands on the wheel. I'm ready to take over when I need to. And I've had to take over on a few occasions. It cannot just completely drive itself. That said, none of the systems can completely do that. Even Cadillac Super Cruise, there's going to be moments where the driver has to intervene. So basically what happened here was, Consumer Reports said that while the Tesla Autopilot system performs the best, it's the most capable of driving the car without assistance. They didn't argue that. Where they dinged it was that it doesn't do a great job keeping the driver engaged. In particularly, the autopilot, Tesla's autopilot basically just requires you to nudge the steering wheel every now and then, give it a little feedback that, hey, I'm still there and I'm alive, and it will just continue to operate. Consumer Reports prefers the Cadillac Super Cruise system that has a camera that monitors the driver to make sure, it basically makes sure your eyes are looking at the road, you're engaged in driving, you're not just, you could be reading a book and every now and then just nudge the steering wheel on Tesla, or you could get something like this, which is a weight that's made to put around your ankle. You could literally just put that around your steering wheel and it will work. I bought this to see if I could trick the autopilot. I don't use it, and you're going to have to trust me on that. But I bought it just to see if it would work, and it worked perfectly. With this thing just hanging on the steering wheel, the car will just continue to drive, and it won't nudge me to engage anymore. That's not really safe. I don't know how you feel about it, but let's say you had kids, an 18-year-old daughter, a 19-year-old son, and they're able to put something like that on their steering wheel and then just start texting their friends, relying on the car to make it to their destination. I wouldn't feel too good about that. I like that Consumer Reports is holding them to a high standard and making sure that the driver engagement is paramount.
And listen, I totally understand that that's important, but any technology can be fooled. You can fool it with the ankle weight. I've seen people put water bottles in there, but with Super Cruise, you can easily put your shades on, and then nobody knows where your eyes are at. All of it can be fooled. So how's that one technology that can be fooled is really better than the other technology?
Well, I just think that Consumer Reports like the idea that Cadillac was making more of an effort to make sure the driver was engaged in the road. And I think that's really why they gave them the high marks. It obviously must work because they must have done some tests to see if, if they suddenly grab a book and started looking down, Super Cruise should say, hey, you've got to be alert here and have a warning and disengage, Super Cruise. Where I do disagree with them a little bit was it seems like they gave that equal weight to how good the system performs. I think the performance of the system should have slightly higher, it should have more weight in their overall scoring. But I do think that they need to hold these manufacturers' feet to the fire to make sure that the systems are safe. Because like I said, you might not care about it with you, Alex, but how do you feel about, your teenage child driving the car and being able to defeat the system so easily? They'd be more likely to take a risk and rely on the technology. Oh, I've seen my dad drive this all the time. It works great. So I'm just going to start texting my friends now. That's where there's trouble.
Well, I don't know how I would feel about it. I would definitely be surprised I have a teenager, first of all. But most importantly, I would still think that my teenager, if I had one, would be smart enough to fool whatever technology they need to fool. But okay, all right, I fair enough. But at the same time, another sort of issues I'm having here is, yeah, I agree with you that the equal weight is really kind of probably not very fair. But one of them is reliant on the other one. So the ability to stop the car and handle the car while a driver appears to be disabled, kind of relies on how good the damn thing can drive itself without the input. And obviously, Consumer Reports agrees with us, saying that Autopilot, the full self-driving package, is much more superior. But doesn't one have to exist with the other, sort of reliant on the other?
I suppose, but I mean, there must be some kind of protocol if the system determines that you're no longer capable of functioning. If the Cadillac Super Cruise, the camera sees that your eyes have been closed for more than 20 seconds or 30, whatever it is, it's going to assume that you've become disabled, whether you're drunk and you passed out, or you've had a medical emergency, or you just fell asleep. It doesn't matter. But now you're no longer piloting the vehicle. How the vehicle reacts now is really important. The Tesla might just give you a few beeps and then disengage, and all of a sudden, you're on your own. To be honest with you, I haven't I haven't made the Tesla do that. I don't think it'll do that. I think it'll slow down in the lane. But the Cadillac Super Cruise evidently performs better in those situations where, the driver's determined to be disabled. It must perform better in a safer manner and slow the vehicle down and stop it for Consumers Reports to give it a better grade.
All right. Now, speaking of your Tesla Model 3 that does have an autopilot but doesn't have a full self-driving, you don't have either right now, Tom, correct? And explain why.
Yeah, so interesting. This kind of happened really suddenly. I had after Tesla announced that they were going to be doing like a mid-cycle refresh of the Model 3, if you can call, you can't even really call it that, but they're putting in a new center console. They're giving it the heat pump that the Model Y had, the magnetic sun visor clips, new door sills, longer range. It's EPA range rated now at 353 miles per charge, which is a significant increase. Kudos to Tesla. They've done a fantastic job constantly improving the Model 3. So any event, I started thinking, hey, maybe it wouldn't be a terrible idea to get a new Model 3. Mine's 16 months old. I have about 21,000 miles on it. So I just, fooling around. I wanted to see what it would cost. It's only a little over 49,000, I think. And the book value of my car is selling somewhere in the low 40s. Now, New Jersey started a new $5,000 cash on the hood rebate for EVs with that costs less than $55,000. So I'm going to net out a new Model 3 dual range long motor for like 44,000, somewhere around there. So I said, let me see what I could sell it for. I listed it for sale. In one day, a guy came over and bought it for $41,000. So it's all happened in like 30 hours. I went from thinking about selling the car to now I don't have a car anymore. And I'm waiting for my Model 3 to come in.
So, in other words, you use this car relatively excessively for over a year, and now all you have to do is throw a few extra $1,000 on top of that, and you're getting a newer and better version. That sounds pretty good, but also tells me that, one, it holds a value pretty good right? And maybe you can explain why. And secondly, whenever you get in the Tesla, much like with a cell phone, within half a year to a year, it really does get outdated, even with the ability to have over-the-air updates.
Well, to me, the heat pump was really a big part of this. I'm a big fan of heat pump systems in electric vehicles. They make the cars a lot more efficient, particularly in the winter. And we get some cold winters here in northern New Jersey. I mean, the range is great, having some more range. I really don't need that much, very rarely. Range was never a problem with my Model 3, honestly. But who doesn't want a new car? And with these improvements, it'll give me the opportunity to do range tests with the new battery, do reviews, walk around videos, because this is also my job, reporting on cars. So that gave me the little extra nudge. And the fact that the New Jersey had the state rebate. Now that played a big role in this. There's a $5,000 incentive for me. The car held its resale value great. I mean, it was a $51,000 car when I bought it. I put 21,000 miles on it, and it only sold for $10,000 less. That's fantastic resale value. I remember when I got my BMW i3, it was worth 50% of what I had paid for it like a year and a half later. So it's Teslas hold their resale value really well.
If you want to hear more from Tom, he's got his own YouTube channel, and I put a link to it in the description of this video. Let's move on to a few other Tesla news stories, but we're going to stay with the Tesla Autopilot for just a second, because they have finally upped the price of the full self-driving package to $10,000. We are now in 5-digit territory. Now the street driving is in its early release program, so you won't be getting that right away, and the hands on the wheel and eyes on the road limitation is still there. Let me know in the comment section if you think that Tesla has gone a little bit crazy with the pricing of this package, at least at this point. Why or why not? Let me know. But for now, we're going to move on to the next story, which actually I think was one of the most important stories in the long run. I am talking about Panasonic's pretty surprising announcement that they will be making the 4680 batteries for Tesla, the one that they have announced during the battery day. As a matter of fact, now we don't even know if Tesla is going to be building theirs in parallel with Panasonic, or Panasonic is just going to take over the entire manufacturing process. And that would be a huge deal. Panasonic has mentioned that they are launching a prototype line very soon, and they are also adding an extra line to boost the production of the current batteries by about 10% by 2022. And this comes on the heel of the news that LG Chem may also be taking a shot of making the 4680 batteries as well. Another great news for Tesla is that apparently per electric, Tesla will be adding extra service centers around the world. They're planning to add about 50 of them. Just to remind you, right now they have anywhere between 450 and 500 service centers, so essentially this will be about a 10% increase. But I have to say, even though this is good news, 10% increase is probably not going to be enough to keep up with a fleet that essentially has doubled in the last couple of years. And it doesn't seem like there are any expansion plans for the Tesla mobile service, which has always been a huge help for the actual physical locations. Now, the next story may upset some of you who are shopping for Tesla, but also love to listen to the radio, the regular or the Sirius XM, because you see, from now on, Tesla will be charging you $500 to have that option. That's right, you will be paying $500 for something that you can pick up at any garage sale for about 35 cents. Now, this problem came from the improvement of the infotainment system, where the drivers with the first version of the MCU had to pay $2,500 to upgrade it to the MCU 2 to be able to watch the Netflix, YouTube, play the games, and overall have an improvement in speed of the computer. But one of the things that was subtracted from that bundle was the radio. So now to get it back, you have to pay some money on top of the original $2,500 for the retrofit. Here's another big Tesla news that was actually suggested right here on this channel back in spring by the manufacturing guru and the contributor to this channel, Sandy Munro.
I still think that if I was Elon Musk, I'd be importing Tesla Model 3s to the US and probably exporting them to all over the place, because I think that with the reduction in the reduction in the taxes, it's probably going to be less money.
And guess what? Tesla is getting ready to ship its very first batch of the Model 3 cars made in China to be distributed to Europe. That's why we love having Sandy Munro on this show on a regular basis, and the next one is going to be published in a couple of weeks when me and Sandy talked about the Hummer EV. Now let's move on to a few other electric car news that are just as exciting, and we're going to start with Lordstown Motors, which is now a publicly traded company, and they have published a video which is a tug of war between their endurance all-electric truck and, of course, you guessed it, Ford F-150. Tesla did something very similar, if you remember, after they have unveiled the Cybertruck. Now in this case, this is not exactly a power test. This is more of a traction test. That's why they did it on the wet grass, and obviously the Endurance won. Lordstown Motors is sticking with their promise that the Endurance is going in production sometime next year and will be on sale at $52,500. And another electric car maker, this time Fisker Inc., has also gone public via a reverse merger. Their stock actually went up in the first day of trading, so that's great news for them. And they have also unveiled their latest reservation numbers, which at this point stands at 8,871. Obviously, that's enough money for Fisker to move forward with production of their all-electric SUV Ocean, especially now that they have partnership in place with Magna that's not only going to be producing their car, but also providing the EV platform. Polestar is having a rough start, having to recall pretty much all Polestar 2 all-electric sedans made so far, about 5,000 of them. There are two issues that need attention, and both of them have to do with the powertrain, and of course it will also slow down the future deliveries. Now, I'm not that surprised that the new automaker is having an issue releasing their first batch of electric cars. However, I am surprised that they have already sold this Mania after test driving it myself a few weeks ago. I did think that they would have a hard time selling this car, especially because of their price, but it looks like they're doing well, and if they fix this issue fast enough, they will be successful. A quick reminder for those of you who are thinking about buying an electric car either this or next year, I just released a video comparing the Tesla models with all of the other manufacturers that either have or will have a great electric car on the market in the next year. So if you're having a tough time wondering, which one to go for because the choices are getting tougher, that video is for you. I put the link to it in the description of this video, and if you're watching me on YouTube, it will be up there. All right, looking forward to all of your comments. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.